The great thing about wholesaling houses compared to most other real estate investing strategies is how quickly you can make money. But exactly how long does it take to wholesale a house? Find out on today's video, coming up.
This video is brought to you by Flipster, the nation's #1 real estate software, with tools for finding, funding, and flipping houses. Check it out now at getflipster.com.
Hey, if you're new here to the channel, I'm Jerry Norton with flippingmastery.com, and this channel is all about ways to help you make money wholesaling and flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss new videos. Wholesaling real estate is the process of finding a motivated seller who is willing to enter into a contract to sell his distressed property at a discount and then flipping or assigning that contract to a cash buyer investor for a fee. And the best part about wholesaling is you get paid up front when the property closes on the purchase. Now, there's no waiting until later after it's fixed up and resold to a homeowner like with fix and flip. If you're brand new to wholesaling, I did a video that explains the process in detail. I'll put a link to that video in the description box below for you to watch later. But exactly how quickly can you make money wholesaling? How long does it take to do a wholesale deal? There are two things to consider. First is how long does it take to find a deal and get a seller to agree to execute a purchase and sale agreement with you at your desired price. Now, technically, you could find your very first motivated seller lead, call the seller, meet at the property, agree on a price, and sign a contract today. Wouldn't that be awesome? While that can happen, don't count on it. The reality is it usually takes finding a lot of leads and talking to a lot of sellers and making a lot of offers to get a deal. And a standard benchmark that I tell new wholesalers is to be prepared to make 100 offers to get your first deal. Now, hopefully it doesn't take 100, but that sets you up with a realistic expectation. Now, as you improve your processes and your quality of leads, you can certainly improve that ratio, but don't kid yourself, it takes work and effort and hustle to find good deals. Now, if you're new to wholesaling, I did a video that explains in detail how to find your first deal in the next 30 days. Link to that video in the description below. For this video, let's assume you have a motivated seller who agrees to your offer price. At that point in time, how long does it take to wholesale the house and actually make money on the deal? The first thing to consider is what is called the close of escrow, or the date that the sale of the property is to happen. Now, the close of escrow date is specified in writing on the contract with the seller. This is actually a very important discussion to have with the seller. In some cases, the close of escrow is critical to the deal. For example, with a pre-foreclosure, the seller may be facing a foreclosure deadline. Now, I once had a pre-foreclosure seller call me on a Tuesday, and I had until Friday to close on the deal, or the owner would have lost the property to foreclosure. Talk about a fast turnaround, so make sure you discuss and understand if there are any pressing deadlines with the seller. Now, speaking of pre-foreclosures, they're one of my favorite lead types. Check out a video I did where you can learn how to find and flip pre-foreclosures, link in the description. But the reality is it's really difficult to close on a deal in under a week, and this is because a closing needs to be prepared and title work needs to be done. Remember, once you execute a contract with a seller, the very first thing you do is open escrow. Opening escrow is when you get your executed contract to an investor-friendly title company who will do a title search to make sure that there aren't any issues with the property, such as unpaid liens, judgments, or back taxes. If there are any recorded claims on title, they will need paid from the seller's proceeds in order to obtain free and clear title and close on the transaction. Now, on average, I would say 25 to 30% of contracts with sellers never make it to closing because of title issues. By the way, I did a video which explains how to wholesale properties where the seller has a mortgage on the house, link in the description. The thing is, it takes some time for title to do a title search and prepare for the closing. Title can put a rush on the title search, but my experience is it usually takes 5 to 7 days. So usually you can't close faster than 7 days anyways, and realistically more like 10 to 14 days, even if you wanted to close faster. But I don't like to commit to the seller to close in 14 days if I don't have to. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to close sooner and get paid my wholesale fee, but I really prefer more time to ensure I can successfully wholesale my deal. I typically aim for a 30-day closing. Now, there are 3 primary reasons to close in 30 days. Reason number 1 is I want plenty of time to find a cash buyer for my deal. My goal is to find a buyer in the first 10 days. Now, I found that if I can't find a cash buyer for my deal in the first 10 days, then I probably don't have a deal. Now, I have a technique I teach to find a cash buyer instantly for your deal, even if you don't have a cash buyer list. I even show you this technique using a real deal example. Now, to check out that video, you know the drill, link in the description. And if you're wondering what to do if you can't find a cash buyer for your deal, which happens to the best of us, let me share with you a technique to preempt that from happening. In my contract with the seller, I had a 10-day due diligence clause. Now, this is usually called an inspection contingency. Now, the seller has to agree to it, but this gives you an entire 10 days for you as the buyer to perform due diligence, but as a wholesaler, use that time to find your cash buyer. During that time, find out what the market thinks about your deal and the real price cash buyers would pay for your deal. For example, let's say that you get a contract for $50,000 with a seller, and during the 10-day window, you take your deal to several cash buyers, and let's say that the best price a cash buyer would pay is $60,000. Now, if you're happy to make $10,000, move forward with the buyer and wholesale your deal. But let's say that during the 10-day due diligence period, the best price from cash buyers is $45,000. Well, that's a problem since you have the contract for $50,000. Now, assuming you talked to enough buyers and your feedback was consistent, you screwed up and overpaid. Now, the good news is, since you have a contingency, you can renegotiate or terminate the contract without any repercussions. I did a video where I recorded the call where I renegotiated a $50,000 price reduction during my due diligence. If you'd like to see what that looks like and how I did that, be sure to check it out, link in the description. The second reason why I prefer a 30-day closing is because I need to give my cash buyer enough time to be ready to close. Remember, once I wholesale my deal to a cash buyer, the cash buyer has to close on the date specified in the original contract with the seller. So if I have a 10-day closing in my contract with a seller and I find my cash buyer on day 5, he only has 5 days left to close. Now, that doesn't give him much time and will make it harder to wholesale the deal. Whereas if I have a 30-day closing and I find my cash buyer on day 8, the cash buyer still has 22 days to close. This gives the cash buyer plenty of time to get his funding together and time to make any other plans such as rehabbing the house. And this brings me to the third reason why I prefer a 30-day closing, and that is because I don't just wholesale, I also do fix and flip. And if I decide to keep the deal and not wholesale it and instead buy it, get funding, fix it up, and flip it, I want to have plenty of time to get my funding together and also plan my rehab. My goal with fix and flip is on the day of closing, I start the demo and I have a detailed plan ready to implement. By the way, I want you to know that I do fix and flip deals all over the US in any market, and I'm always looking for new deals that I can fix and flip, like this house in Leesburg, Georgia. Now, this deal was brought to me by Patrice, who lives in Maryland, and it met my criteria as a good fix and flip deal, so I bought it and paid Patrice $10,000. So if you'd like to be a finder for me and get $10,000 for every good deal you find and submit to me, then register for a free training to learn all the details. Just go to my10kcheck.com. So how long does it take to wholesale a house? Well, assuming you found a good deal and assuming the seller agreed to your price, and assuming you executed a purchase and sale agreement with the seller, and assuming you put a 30-day close of escrow in your contract, and assuming you found a cash buyer for your deal, you could walk away with a check in as little as 30 days. Doing a deal and making $10,000 is exciting, but if you want life-changing, then you need to learn how to do it again and again. Being able to find deals every single day is the lifeblood of any wholesaling business. Known as acquisitions, consistent daily effort and focus is the key to doing 3, 5, even 10 or more wholesale deals each and every month and building a 6 and even 7-figure business. Now, if that's what you're going for, watch this next video to learn how to find wholesale deals every day. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my channel with over 500 videos. This is your #1 resource for all things wholesaling and flipping, and I'll see you on the next video.